When the lights go out, you want tips and strategies that really work. We got some for you, and we got some stuff to show you. We recently did a two-part series on winter storm preparedness, and we had so many great tips and strategies that are very frugal, very inexpensive, but they really, really work. Those tips were sent in by our viewers. So we're going to start out the program by giving you some of the best viewer tips that were sent in. Then we want you to hang with us because you guys made some suggestions to us of things that we should have on hand. And we took your suggestions, and we have some things that we just got, and we're going to tell you what those things are and how we like them.
Yeah, in fact, in part two, we mentioned a couple of items that we had ordered but hadn't gotten in yet. Well, we've gotten those items in. I've had a chance to test them. We will talk about those two items after some of our viewer tips.
All right, let's get started. Guys, these were so, first of all, there's nothing hard about any of these tips, and a lot of the tips just aren't even going to cost you any money at all. We liked them so much, we thought we just really felt like we needed to share them with everybody.
Yeah.
So the first tip comes from Cowgirl Jones, and she suggests there are some things that we did not mention in the video series. By the way, we'll link the videos in the description of this video so you can go back and look at them when you're done here. But she suggested a couple of things we didn't mention, which were foot warmers and hand warmers, and really practical suggestions. She's like, just have a lot of extra blankets on hand where you know where you can find them.
And you know, one of the Christmas gifts that I gave Hope last year was a pair of electric socks.
Yes, so cool.
You charge them up. They run on batteries, and they can be charged on a micro USB cord, the same cord that you use for your Android phones. And that lasts for, I think it lasts about 4 hours per charge. And because she has cold feet.
I know, my feet are constantly cold in the winter. So this was like the best Christmas gift ever, you guys, because now my feet are really warm. And it's, you know, so it says, it may say 4 hours, but I will tell you, I've used these heated socks like overnight, and they are still warm the next morning.
Well, it depends
so
it depends on what setting you put them on too. I think there's 3 different settings. So yeah, the lower settings will last longer. You know, a blanket is something that's just very practical. My parents talk about riding in the old Model T Fords, and they didn't have heaters in those cars back then, but they had a blanket, and they put it over their legs. They wore warm clothing, and they kept warm.
Speaking of blankets, Denise gave us a really great tip. She said, you know, in the middle of winter, if your electricity goes out, one of the most important things you may want to do is to just grab some blankets and throw them over windows. Just hang them up over the front of the window, because that's going to hold the heat in your house. Thought it was a great idea.
Great insulators.
Barbara had a really great idea that Larry loves.
Well, Barbara mentioned a very popular unit called the Jackery. And basically what that is a portable power station that runs off of a battery. It's all built in. It's an all enclosed unit that will supply a limited amount of 110 volts. Also, it'll supply power, DC power, to recharge your cell phones or your laptop. It can also run 12-volt refrigerators. So it's a very handy unit to have during a power outage. If you get the supplied solar panels, then that can be charged outside while you're out of power, and you can actually keep that going.
Barbara wasn't the only one who mentioned this. There were several of you who wrote in and said, hey, I've got this really great portable power station. Here's the name brand. Here's what I use. And we paid attention to what you told us. So we have one of these portable power stations on the way with the solar panel kit. And when we get it and we get it all set up, we'll do a video and we'll tell you what we thought of it.
Yeah, we'll put a review together and show you all the ins and outs, some of the strengths and weaknesses of those systems.
Okay, Ophelia, if you have low light lanterns, so you've got a lantern, it just doesn't shine a whole lot of light out, put it in front of a mirror. A great idea. The first thing you should do when the power go out is make sure that whatever your light sources are, put a mirror behind it. Put it in front of a mirror, and you're going to find that that mirror amplifies the light.
You know what's nice? In a lantern, you have light that's coming from this direction, but this sends out light 360 degrees. So if you put a mirror in back of it, you're going to capture that light that's reflecting, and you'll actually throw out more light into the room. It's a good suggestion.
Northern Lady, she has another good idea for when you don't have a lantern, but you kind of wish you did. She said, take a headlamp and put it around an empty gallon jug that is a milk jug. She said, put some water in it so it's got some weight in it, so it's not going to tip over, and just put that headlight, if you will, around it, and then that's going to provide a base, and it'll be just like you had a lantern.
So this is basically a headlamp unit. You set that so it's toward the milk jug, and that actually will give you a little bit more diffused light to light up the entire room. It acts like a lantern then instead of a headlamp.
Leah said, another tip for where you keep your flashlights, get those little handy, anybody have Harbor Freight near them? Harbor Freight has these little cute flashlights that they like do as a giveaway. She said, like, get those, and they come with a little strap. Put it around doorknobs. It'll hang down below the doorknob level so it's not in the way when you're opening and closing the door. But when the lights go out, not only do you know where to find an instant light source, but really importantly, your kids or grandkids know where to go to find a light source.
So you have a strap like this. You just hang that around the doorknob, and then you'll be all set. You'll know where your flashlights are.
CT Mom, which I suspect is Connecticut Mom, I'm not sure. She said, y'all forgot one really super important thing in your videos about winter storm preparedness, and that is when the electricity goes out, you want to grab a
hat, because you lose most of your heat out the top of your head. So if you put a hat on, you're going to save a lot of that heat. It's a great idea. She also mentions put on a thick pair of warm socks, a pair of moccasin type slippers, and a plastic sole that will keep the cold floors from impacting you. That's a good idea.
Additionally, she reminded us if the electricity's out, you don't have any other way to cook, that propane grill sitting on your back patio, that is your ticket to providing food for your family. And she purchased one deliberately with one of those side burners. Those are so cool. And you can do, you can put like a pot of coffee on there. You can do a one pot dish, anything like that. And so she said, you know what? Look, if you're in the market for a propane grill, just pay the extra $100 or $200, get one with a side grill, because you may very well need it. She said she's had several power outages and used her propane grill. So great advice.
Good idea. Yeah. Robin says a 2 to 3 man tent is sometimes the perfect size to put on your bed, making the perfect sleeping area. Well, that would get it up off the floor, so that would give you a little more warmth that way.
Yeah, she reminded us that, I mean, we did mention in the video, we said put your tent down on the floor of your living room, crawl inside the tent, and then you're heating a much smaller square footage than if you're trying to provide heat to the whole room even. Hey, we just want to remind you that in this program, we're giving some tips and strategies, very frugal ones at that were sent in for winter storm preparedness from our viewers. And you know what? We didn't introduce ourselves in the front of the video, which we always do. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
And we are Under the Medium, where we talk about practical frugality every single week. All right, back to our viewer comment.
So Dee says, I have found that solar lights, and those are the ones that you light your sidewalk with, are great for indoor lighting in a power outage. So here you have these bank of solar lights outside in your front yard gathering power all day long. And if you lose power, bring those in. They'll work as little mini flashlights. Great idea.
And she said what she really liked about it was, first of all, it's easy for her kids to like carry one around the house. And there's no danger in a solar light. It's not going to catch on fire. It's not going to be a problem that way. And she said not only that, they're pretty inexpensive. And she has found them, guys. Tell us in the comments section, have you found them at Dollar Tree? She said that she has.
Okay. Be Free, Be Frugal says, I recently bought 3 wind-up hand-held LED torches or flashlights that were on clearance just in case the power goes out in the UK. Now, I remember when those first came out. I don't know when it was, 2003 or 4, it was quite a while ago. Little device about so big, and you cranked it for about a minute, and it would give you about maybe a minute or 2 of light. But that's a great power source. They use no batteries, so you never have to worry about them being dead. And it's going to be an available light source for you.
You guys sent in such amazing tips, some suggestions, and you gave us also some ideas on products that we might want to take a look at. And we took you at your word. And we purchased some of those products on Amazon. We're going to show you what we got and give you an idea of what we thought of them. Hey, having an accurate source of like information whenever there's an emergency, super important. Larry and I both worked in broadcasting for many, many years. If you're new to the channel and don't know that, I worked in radio, he worked in television. So I think this whole idea of broadcast media being an important place where you can go to get accurate information was super important to us, particularly since we worked in the industry. And I think we've discovered, through the past years, whenever there's a local or a national emergency, it's hard to know where to go to get information that is actually factual, and maybe social media isn't the best place to do that. But Larry found something that's going to help you stay on track just in case there's a power outage for any reason, and this is a great frugal deal.
And just to kind of reiterate a little bit of what we said at the top of the program, the two most important things that I think you need during a power outage, well, let's just say three. You need lighting, you need heat, and you also need information, because you want to know what's going on, what caused it, how long is it going to be out. You want to have some good information on it. So you may not be able to rely on your computer. You may not be able to rely on television, on cable.
Or your phone.
or your phone, right? Any of those things could be out depending on how wide the power outage is. But radio generally is going to be a pretty reliable medium. So I thought it was important for us to have an emergency radio. Now, what is emergency radio compared to just an ordinary portable radio? It has a lot of different features, and you don't have to pay an awful lot of money to get one of these.
Now, you looked at a lot of models, and some of them were up to $250. He looked at everything from the least expensive to the most expensive. This unit has a lot of the features that the higher end models do, but this was around $50 on Amazon.
Yeah, so this is a Kaito Ka 500 emergency radio. It's a Voyager. They've been making this model for quite a few years. And in fact, in some ways, this has just a lot of good old-fashioned engineering built into it. So the first thing that I liked about it is that it has an analog tuner. Now, an analog tuner is the old kind of tuners that the old radios had, where you just have a ruler dial and you can just physically tune it with a knob across the band.
And why do you like that better than the digital?
Well, this radio is digital, and here's what I like about it. I can scan across, especially the shortwave bands, a lot quicker than I can with this one. This has a built-in scanner. It will scan. It will miss stations if they're not real strong, whereas this one I can hear every station. You just keep going till you hear something and you stop on it and then do a little fine-tuning. You got it in. This one takes a lot more time to tune.
Cool.
So it's much quicker that way. It has 4 different bands, so it gives you a lot of versatility. It has a NOAA weather band, which is going to be very important.
Really important.
Most of your power outages are going to be caused by weather-related incidents. So it's good to know what your weather is going to be in your area. And it has 7 different frequencies of tuning for the various weather radio stations that are all across the 50 states. Nice. And so wherever you live, you should be able to get a weather band radio signal somewhere.
At 11 p.m. in Peoria, skies were mostly cloudy. The temperature was 38 degrees.
It also has FM. It's got very good reception on FM.
Better than this. Now, this is a Kaito as well. We've owned this for several years, which is one of the reasons we looked at this one, because we liked this one so well.
Yeah, I've had this one about 8 years now, and it's a great model, but this has a lot of things that trump it, frankly. It also has AM. AM's going to be very important to you during a power outage because you have a lot of news stations. A lot of news and information stations are on the AM band.
Says the new variant has not been detected here yet, but he says it's just a matter of time.
So that is the band of choice. And now with these type of radios, they're very sensitive. They're much more sensitive than your average household radio. I was picking up 2 Canada stations, and I've got some video to roll on both of those, some samples for you.
This is Zoomer Radio Toronto, CFZM FM and CFZM AM, owned and operated by NZ Media Incorporated.
Concernant l'après-30 novembre, we have no idea what schools will be affected.
Nous n'avons aucune idée de quelles écoles seront touchées ni dans l'ensemble.
So hey, to all of our viewers from Canada.
Yeah, right. It's awesome. We have a Toronto station coming in. This will get all of the East Coast stations. So you're talking
And
New
we're in
York.
the Midwest, so people know. We're in Illinois, right in the middle.
We're south of
Yeah.
Chicago, so it'll pull in almost all of the big 50,000 watt East Coast stations.
Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
42 degrees in Atlanta, clear and cold tonight, lows 33, sunshine tomorrow.
Plus, it pulls in Chicago, your nearest locality, and obviously your local stations. So between all of that, you should be able to get really good source.
So he put these side by side, guys, and this had a much more sensitive tuner than that one did. He was getting a lot more channels with this one.
And this is a less expensive radio
Yeah, there
than
you
this
go.
one was. So there you go. The other bands that it has 2 shortwave bands, so it covers all of the shortwave spectrum. Now, shortwave has some very interesting programming on it. It's not as stable of a signal as AM and FM, and there'll be some nights where you just won't get much shortwave reception. There aren't a lot of shortwave broadcasts during the daytime. They rely on the skywave, which becomes active when the sun goes down. So you'll get stations from, there's one, a real good strong one from Lebanon, Tennessee.
Full. We transmit worldwide. WTWW, Lebanon, Tennessee, United States of America. I bet you're just having fun tonight, aren't you?
And then, of course, there's some overseas stations. You can get the UK and so forth. So that is a great news source. It was very valuable back in the days of World War II.
And so this is solar powered, so they don't need an external power source to charge it. They can put it in the sun and it will charge itself. Correct?
Well, yeah, we're going to talk about the different ways that you can power the radio. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. I want to explain what sets it apart as an emergency radio.
Awesome.
Okay, so with all of those different bands, you should be able to get information that you're looking for. There's many ways, as we mentioned, to power the radio. It has a very good sturdy build, and there's some lighting options on the radio. This is kind of interesting. There's a switch on the top right here, and with that switch, you can turn it on and use it as a flashlight. It also has a dial light, and that will stay on. Isn't that awesome? Most of these you have to hold a push button in order to keep that on, but that stays on. And so that's going to be very handy. When the lights are out, you're going to be able to see. And then on another setting, you just put this to another setting and you lift up this. There's a solar panel on the back. You lift that up and there are 5 LED lights that really show enough light to read by. It's kind of a general area light. It's not quite as bright as my lantern is, but it'll give you some light. So this just kind of becomes an all-in-one unit. Isn't that awesome?
He was testing this, guys. So I was sitting in the family room reading. He turns off all the lights, comes over and puts this next to me. He's like, "Can you see to read by this?" I'm like, "Yes." So we got a great links to test these things for you guys.
Oh yeah. And then on another setting, it does have kind of an SOS. That isn't a very bright light though. And I got to admit, this is an older style LED. So this is an LED that the style is about 10 years old. So I wasn't quite as impressed with the lighting except for that area light. But here's what really sets it apart from one of these radios. To power this radio, you have batteries, okay? So it runs on 3 AA batteries. I do have rechargeable batteries in it. You have to plug a wall plug in and charge the batteries. And then that's the only way that runs. That's it, period. Batteries, okay? One source. This one comes with Nicad batteries. Now that's an older battery system that came out years ago. It's very reliable. And the Nicad serve for several different purposes. If the batteries are totally dead, it has a hand crank dynamo.
Oh, nice!
And you just crank that, and that will charge. And there's a light that shows green, shows that it's charging up. When you crank that for about 3 minutes, the radio will actually play.
That is cool.
It'll play for a half an hour on 3 minutes of cranking.
That's awesome.
So the other thing that's really cool about this in regard to the crank, on the back, there is a full-size USB output on it. And
so you can charge your phone?
You can charge your phone.
Oh, there you go.
By cranking this, you have to flip a switch. There's a switch that says in and out. You want to switch it to out, so it's pulling power out of the batteries. And as you crank it, that's going to send some electricity into your phone to charge it. So isn't that awesome? You actually have a way to charge your phone. It's a great design. I just can't believe all that they went into. Now, the other way to power this is with the micro USB, and that was, you can plug that into the wall just with your phone charger and charge it, or you can plug that into your computer using one of these cords, your USB power cord.
Oh, so use your computer to charge this?
You can with the USB out on your computer. You can plug it into that and charge it. And this is another way that I run the radio quite a bit. This is just one of those portable power banks that will run this radio for hours and hours just plugged in to that source. So there's one more way to power the radio. Then you can also use 3 AA batteries into that compartment. So it's amazing. I mean, there's no way you're going to run out of a way to listen to this radio when the power is out.
Right. Well made, lots of features, guys. About $50 on Amazon. And there's another thing that you all suggested highly that we get, and we did, and it has to do with light.
Right. And as we said, lighting is a very important thing you need when the power is out. So this is the other item that we ordered off of Amazon. It's called a Danforce headlamp. And this has 1,080 lumens on that center light.
Nice.
That light can be focused. So you can take a real wide beam that's more of an area lighting pattern, and you can narrow that down to a pretty small beam. Then there's another setting where it has the 2 outer lights. That's more of a kind of a pinpoint light. And that would be more for distance. And then there's another setting where you have all 3 on at the same time. And then if a flashing setting, and if you hold it, it goes to this red setting, and that's kind of an emergency thing. The other thing that I like about it, the batteries, this is the whole unit fits over your head. So it has a center strap. It makes it very comfortable to wear. And then this has the battery pack in it. And this also lights up red when it's on. So if you're
so it's like this would be a headlight, and that would be
like a tail light. If you want to bike with it or walk, out at night, walk with it. People will be able to see you from behind if you're on a trail and it's dark. This is what I really liked about the unit. It has 2 very common 18650 rechargeable batteries. And
and that's one of the things we really chucked with these units. Once again, Larry looked at several of them, and to find one that had really commonly, readily available batteries.
Yeah, so there's the batteries, which means that these can be replaced, and not only replaced, if the batteries run down and you have an extra set, and I actually have 2 extra sets of these that I ordered off of, I ordered them off of wish.com, but you can get these from Amazon as well. These will run this light for 8 to 10 hours.
Really?
Without running down. So they'll run it a long time. They're very heavy. They have a lot of power. These are 2,200 milliamp hours. So they're big batteries. So this became, I felt, one of the best lamps you can get for the money. The other thing about this lamp, and this is the main advantage of a headlamp, it keeps your hands free.
Right.
So when you have this on, you've got both hands to do whatever you need to do, and the lamp can be tilted. So you can tilt it down or have it go straight ahead. So if you're working on something low, I was changing out a headlamp on my son's car, and we couldn't see. We were working in the garage, and I put this on and used it. It was great. I had my hands free. I could do the work, and so it made the project very pleasant.
This thing is not only, it's handy and it's incredibly practical. And once again, we purchased it off of Amazon, and we'll leave a link in the description of the video.
Yeah.
Y'all have such really great suggestions and tips and strategies for us. We truly appreciate it. You got any more ideas on how to deal with winter power outages? Leave them in the comment section of the video. Listen, if you missed the first 2 parts of the series where we talked about heating, lighting, water, how to keep everything together when the lights go out and it's cold outside, we're going to leave a link to it. It's right over there. It's what you want to watch next.